Hey everyone, I'm Dory Wittrig with the Sonoran Lifestyle team at Remax Sun Properties, and today it is my pleasure to introduce our local Fountain Hills Fire Chief, Chief Dave I. Now, you've only been our chief for 1 year
because January 1st of 2024, we started our own municipal Fountain Hills Fire Department.
But you've been involved a lot longer.
I've been around a day or two and have my roots in fire prevention back in Scottsdale when it was rural metro, and really the birth of the fire sprinkler ordinance in Arizona. Scottsdale had the first recognized ordinance and requirement, and kind of bled over to Fountain Hills because it made sense to install life safety systems in all new construction. So, and we're really talking residential here. So.
And we wanted to ask a few questions about the risks and responsibilities of residential fire sprinkler systems. Do they need to be inspected? What are all the good and bad points? How do you be a winter visitor and go away for the winter and make sure that your system is still protecting your home? So, Chief Dave, take it away. You're going to tell us a little bit about this.
Well, Dory, that's a good place to start. And I would say that there are no downsides to having a residential fire sprinkler system. And they're designed to provide life safety and also a little bit of property conservation while you're here. The way that it kind of works is from the start, you have your water coming into your house. This is insulated, so it might be a little bit tougher to see what the piping arrangement is. But this valve will shut all the water off to your house, including your fire sprinklers, which if you're a winter visitor or you leave for an extended period of time, you don't want to have this as your only valve because it will inactivate your fire sprinklers. Typically a valve will come in above that, but keep in mind that you don't want to cut off the water to your landscaping or your pool fillers either. So, but this is the first T right here, which goes into the fire sprinkler system, and we'll go around into the garage, and it's a common setup. Most of the panels are inside. Some of them may be outside, but this will be a typical setup for what you might encounter in your home.
So while we're out here, this might be a good place to say that when you're purchasing a home or when you're thinking about becoming a winter visitor, you probably want to call your plumber and make sure that all of these plumbing valves are in the right place for you to be able to go away, turn the water off to the inside of your home, and still keep it into your landscaping and everything else. So call the plumber.
I would agree with that. It's always good when you purchase a new home to kind of know what your systems are, where they work, be like your air conditioning. You'd want to know where all of that comes in and how you can shut that off if you need to. Knowing where to shut your water off if you have gas, knowing what those appliances are in your home. That's all good knowledge, and we've got a good base of realtors that can help you with that.
Awesome. All right, let's go on inside. Okay, so now we're inside the garage in this house where this valve box is located. And there are some things you do and don't want to do. You want to keep your valve box accessible, correct? Yeah,
correct.
And why would you do that?
Well, there's not really many parts that you would need to get in there to service, but it is something that we would look at when we come out and explain the system to you. There's a main drain in here, a pressure valve, the flow switch, which is tied to the bell on the outside. We'll probably get a picture of that later. That bell was designed to be red. It doesn't mean if you painted your house that you need to worry about it. It just gives us an indication that the house is sprinkled. Also, if no one's home or you were incapacitated and you had a sprinkler activation, it's going to let people outside the house know that there's water flowing through the sprinkler system.
So what about inspections? Who helps to inspect these systems?
Well, the Fountain Hills Fire Department will be more than happy to come out on an annual basis, or if you have questions, if you're a new homeowner, never had a fire sprinkler system before, we'll come out and explain how the system works to you, go through the components of it. We'll test this flow switch, which is really the only testable component on the residential sprinkler systems, just to give you peace of mind that the bell works. So if you are lucky enough to be out here in the heat of the summer and you want to test this before you go, call us and we'll come out and you can provide that number in your stuff.
We will do that.
So
So what else do we want to make sure we keep track of here?
Well, this also has a design sticker on it, which will generally have the name of the installing company on it. This isn't always here. Sometimes it's been painted over. Sometimes it was never there to start with, but it should be there. And hopefully if you have a fire sprinkler system and you have questions on it that we can't answer, the name of the installing contractor hopefully that's still in business, is on this sticker and can provide some help for you. You may also have spare heads in this box, and that's designed from our standpoint that if you do have a problem and you had a fire that only had one head activated, and most commonly most residential fires are contained or controlled by 2 heads or less, we would be able to maybe get your water back on, because we'd turn the water off at the valve outside that we looked at, which is also going to affect all the water in your house. So the sooner we can get you back up and get you back into your house is kind of a goal on our side of the fire department.
So I think that's a common question or misperception, that in a residential fire sprinkler system, if there's an incident inside the home, the whole house gets sprinkled, and that is not the case.
They go off one at a time. If I can do this without breaking this head. You basically have a frangible link in here, which is this glass bulb, and it's got a little air bubble in there. It works almost as a heat detector. When the temperature gets hot enough at this head, it will break this bulb and allow the water to flow out through here, hit this deflector down here, and create a spray pattern off of the fire sprinkler. That's kind of why when we talk about some other things, we want to make sure that you don't have that flow from the sprinkler head obstructed. So if it was too close to a cabinet or inside the cabinet, or you've got things stacked up in front of it, that's all going to hinder the way that this is designed to work, and may affect the heat getting to it, which would allow the fire to get a little bit bigger to begin with before it was activated. And that might cause some problems controlling it, but it might also cause some issues with the flow that's designed to come out of here. This is a concealed head, and we'll get a picture of what it looks like underneath the cap in your ceiling. This has got a cap that has a little bit lower heat release temperature than what the sprinkler head does, so that cap will basically melt off, drop down, and then allow this head to come out. And this also has a frangible link down here that's a heat activated device that will melt off, drop this plug out, and let the water flow through there.
So I wonder if those ever get painted over, those caps inside the home.
They frequently get painted over, sometimes they get caulked on. That's going to create some issues for how the head was designed, and cause it not to activate at the design temperature, but will take a little bit more heat to get that to work. Some designer ceilings have painted heads on there, but those are typically a factory applied, UL approved coat on that, and that's listed as part of that sprinkler head assembly. So that's allowable. Just because you have a dark head on a dark ceiling or a dark cover on a dark ceiling doesn't mean that you've got issues with it. It could have been designed that way. That's going to be hard for us to tell in the beginning. Doesn't mean that if it's a used home that it might not have been painted by the former owners, but we can kind of come in and take a look at it. If it moves freely, usually it's not been painted on the ceilings.
Okay, want me to take those while you carry on here? Okay.
Excellent.
So what else do we need to know?
That's pretty much it on here. There is another component that we use to check the flow switch, and that's called the inspector's test valve. And that will be somewhere on the far side of the house. Generally the other end from where the water comes in. That's designed so that it would simulate the flow from one fire sprinkler head to make sure the bell works under that condition, because ideally 1 or 2 heads is going to control the fire in your house. We might have to go take a look at that. But, this may also be, you see some other wires in here, this may also be tied into a fire alarm burglar system that you have. It's always good, if you're going to test it, that if you do have a monitoring system in your home, to let the monitoring company know so that they don't dispatch. Okay, this is the inspector's test valve. It's kind of on the hydraulically most remote part of the system. If you think about it, the water comes in on the garage over there, loops all the way through the house and comes out, and this would be the farthest point from where the water comes in. This valve's designed to test the water flow, which was the red box in the panel in the garage, and also the bell on the outside of the house. Again, this is probably the only testable part of the system. People always want to know, well, how do I know if the sprinkler head's going to work? It's a heat activated, one-time only use, and I don't really enjoy getting wet to try to figure out whether your sprinkler's going to work or not. But we've had good success and a lot of activations and a lot of fires, and they've really proven their worth as a life safety system. Okay, we're back out by where the water comes in, something we probably could have mentioned on the first part of this video, but there's the exterior bell that we talked about being tied into the flow switch in the panel in the garage, and that'll ring once there's water flowing through the fire sprinkler system. You also have a drain out here that's part of the system as well. There's a pressure reducing or pressure relief valve in the panel in the garage that if the pressure gets so high, it will end up dripping out of here. So if you see water coming out of here, that would be a good time to either call us to come check it out or call the fire sprinkler company that's listed on the calc plate on your panel on the inside. So, besides the bell up here, we've got a horn for the I'm going to say burglar system. That may be a combination Fireburg system that has your smoke alarms tied into it, and some other new technology. But this is pretty much where it's going to be, is where your water comes in. It's kind of fireman proof, so that if you know where the bell's at, you probably know where the water shutoff is.
All right. So Chief, thank you. And thanks for the offer. We'll make sure that phone number is available, and you can contact Fountain Hills Fire Department and make an arrangement for them to come by, take a look at your system, and make any recommendations. Thanks so much for joining us today.